Oh, we're live. Here we go.
Here we are. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Oh, we
Here
got
they
some people joining
come.
already.
Hi. Ay, ay, ay. Yes, Kevin, I had to put the note about the dogs because I was tired of seeing notes asking for subscriber. It was like in my feed, and my dog is just sitting there very bored. So that's why I had to do that. And it was really fun to see everybody's doggies
Yeah, he had
and
a
cats.
party.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm
Hi.
Jen of Author Gold. This is
I'm
Kevin. Say hi,
Kevin.
Kevin.
I have the Substack Standout Authors, so hopefully you will all get a lot from this conversation. That's our hope for this. And if
That's
you
our
want,
hope.
uh, let us know where you're at in the world so we can see where everyone is joining us.
We're giving it just a few minutes as people kind of come on. And maybe what we'll get started with is just letting y'all know we love to hear from you as we're talking. So if you have any questions about email lists or anything at all, pop it in the chat. We'll be trying to monitor that as we go so we can try and answer your questions. And if you like something we say, click the little heart button so we know you're listening. Sometimes we wonder, are we talking into the void? Or are you guys there with us? So it's always nice to hear that. So I'm Jen. I have a Substack, Author Gold. I write to help other writers go through the publishing and marketing journey. I've gone through it myself. So who am I talking to when I'm writing is often I think of my previous self, that first time when I was kind of looking out at the abyss that is publishing and marketing, and that confusion and where to start, and then the inundation that came with it of all the misinformation and the people trying to sell me stuff. And so that's who I write for. Kevin, you want to talk a little bit about yours?
Yeah, so my background is a little bit different. My background is actually in marketing itself. I've worked for an e-commerce company for over 15 years, and I started off as a web designer, moved a little bit into graphic, and then towards the tail end, I focused on email marketing, which is why we're here today. And the reason that email lists are so important is because you have ownership of all those people, and you have the ability to talk to them whenever you want, instead of relying on, if you're using social media, you have to rely on the algorithm, or you have to rely on constant posting all the time. But when you have your email list, you can dedicate when and where you're sending to those people.
Yeah, I I realized very early in my initial forays through a very terrible lesson learned around the email lists. So I got started. I had my book out, and I had the friends and family connections, but it was a lot of go with advertisements, do ads, and then I would post on social media. I did really well. I sold about 100 copies on Amazon within the first month, and then I realized that I had no way to ever know who those purchasers were and or how to ever reach them again. I have currently two books in the pipeline right now, and wouldn't it be nice to be able to share with those people that there's more? If they liked one book, they might like more, and they're gone, they're off into the void. So with those lessons learned, I now do email lists. I also have a couple different email lists because I have the Author Gold Substack newsletter, which is targeted to other writers. And then I have children's books and that's targeted to parents and children.
Completely different
So
audience.
I don't want to cross those streams, and we could talk a little bit about like those kinds of techniques and why we wouldn't want to cross those streams as we're talking.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's so important, especially if you're trying to build an audience and you're going to do multiple books, for sure. Have that list, because like you said, if you send them straight to Amazon, they're just going to buy it. And at that point, they're just going to stay on Amazon, because that's how Amazon has built a platform. They don't really let you talk to those people unless it's directly related to an order. So you have to either add within the book itself a way for them to sign up or connect with you outside of Amazon, or you have to send them to something like a landing page where you can start to gain subscribers outside of a purchase. So you can not only get purchasers, but you also have the ability to reach prospects. So people that aren't quite interested in the book yet, but maybe in the future. So I think that's the benefit of that.
Yeah. And one thing, once you have it, when someone is signing up to an email list, like they're saying something about you. They've discovered you, they've seen you, that visibility, discoverability pain point that we talk about. You've reached them. And now they have given you permission to enter into their inbox by giving you an email address. So that in itself is, saying something. And so now what do you do with the email list, right? You have them. Do you take that trust for granted? Do you take that relationship for granted? And I'd love to talk a little bit about, okay, once you build that email list, then what do you do? Is there a right way to go about nurturing the relationship that you've been able to start?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is treating people like people and not talking to people like they're part of a list, because you can obviously talk to everybody like you're doing a mass communication, which is the way that most e-commerce style companies talk. They talk like they're sending a promotion or they're talking to general audience. But I think, like you said, you were talking in this Author Gold Substack, like you're talking to yourself, the lessons that you wish that you had before. So I think the more that you can focus in on at least a single person that you think would be the best fit for this, the more likely it is people are going to think, oh, she's talking to me directly, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, oh, I'm part of this list or this membership or whatever it might be. You're actually talking to somebody. And the more that you can actually engage with those people, the more likely it is they're going to stay on the list and be active on it. And when you have something that you actually need to sell or want to sell, they're there for you because they like you and so they want to support you.
That's really a good point. And there is that assumption that once they're on the list, they'll stay on that list, right? There is no guarantee that they'll stay. So how do you get them to stay? One of the wonderful things about having an email list, I'm going to talk about the one for my children's books, is having that direct connectivity with my readers of my book. And so I have parents who share back things like coloring pages from my book. I've gotten photos of their children reading and loving my books. That to me is where I get so much motivation to keep going on the next book, because the next book is a big investment in time and energy and money, because I do kids' books, so illustrators. But like, anyway, there's no void. I'm not talking into the void, and that feedback is so important. And so there's part of why am I doing this in the first place kind of that piece gets fed, right? And then how do I speak to them? You were talking about speaking to as much of an individual as you can. And it gets at sort of, I think, what I do see. I subscribe to a lot of Substacks, and I often see kind of there's posts. Substack is kind of post-centric, but there's some other really great ways to connect with your audience as individuals that goes beyond like to just the notes and replying to notes, but you can integrate things into your posts besides just like, hey, use a comment and comment back and generate discussions. There's ways to do polls in your posts to kind of get engagement and get to know who are your readers. And then listening to every piece of feedback you get, even if it's only one or two people that might respond, those are people that took a moment to respond to you. So they're really fully engaged. And there's the marketing perspective of what that means in terms of how primed they are to then maybe spend money. But there's also that relationship aspect where now you have an opportunity to get to know them and write for them. And instead of like just at them or whatever you want to write. And then that creates that trust. And I think having fans is a really wonderful way to think of like an email list. So instead of saying, okay, I have an email list with, 400 subscribers, I like to think of like, I have fans and I have audience and I have people who I'm committed to. And when you're approaching your email list with that mindset, I think it will help a lot in terms of then how you approach the logistics of responding and replying and keeping that relationship going.
Yeah, I think there's so many ways to do everything because the way that I'm approaching Substack is I'm connecting with people by interviewing a lot of them and interacting with their posts as I get to know them better. I've done like written interviews with people who have engaged. So it's not only about how do I write to this particular audience, it's how do you connect with people on a deeper, more human level. Because people want to help people. They don't want to help like nebulous things. So I think one of the things that people often are worried about when they're just starting out is I'm so small. There's only, let's say you had 100 people on your Substack or email list. But those, if you imagine, I love to, when people make the analogy of imagining 100 people in a room. Imagine if you had 100 people in your dining room or your living room, and these people are all listening to you with your message. That's crazy, right? The internet has really warped the way that we think about numbers and people and subscribers. We all want to aim for the, I don't know, thousands, tens of thousands, millions of people, right? But when you're starting out, you have the ability to connect with people on a deeper level. And as you grow, that becomes a lot harder. So every stage has its benefits. So when you're starting out, the biggest benefit is you have that direct connection. You can respond to people directly as they comment or message you or email you back. And that's something that slowly goes away if you're growing at the rate that you want to. And as you get bigger, it becomes harder unless you have somebody to help you with other things, which I always advocate for. If you're growing and you are able to pay for things that you don't want to do, that's something that's good for yourself and your mental health. And people don't want to give up control, but at some point, if you want to continue an upward trajectory, you need to start thinking about how can I start to offload the things I don't want to do anymore.
So getting into the logistics, right? We were talking about, okay, once you have this email list, now what do you do with it, right? You're saying there are different strategies at different time points as you're building your list. And one of the benefits of having a small list is that you do have an opportunity to really form those personal relationships and respond to each and every opportunity. Whereas when you're larger, you might have a larger audience, but it becomes much more difficult to do that. So when you're smaller, take advantage of that opportunity to really build those super fans from an early stage. Could be a great way to get started. I found that, yes, thinking about that room, right? 100 people in your room, or even 50 people, even 10 people, right? Sitting around your living room. And then when you're thinking about, okay, well, how am I going to email my list? So this is going beyond Substack and beyond posts, but just how are you going to form that relationship? So from an author's perspective, you have a book and you want them ultimately, hopefully, to buy your book. And so how do you speak to 10 people, 50 people in an email? If you use that analogy, right, that there's 10 people in your living room, how would you speak to them? Would you be shouting out like, hey, look at my cool book, will you buy it, right? Or would you say, hi, my name is Jen, this is who I am, this is what inspires me to write. I get really passionate about this. What do you get passionate about? And they're like, oh, I get passionate about, imagination, and I have kids who love unicorns. And like, oh yeah, I got a daughter who loves unicorns. And now you have this connection. You're talking to them as individuals. That's very different, right? You haven't pitched your book yet, but you're getting them into that conversation. I think if you can keep that mindset in the beginning with your subscribers as authors, then everybody knows eventually you're going to pitch your book, right? You don't have to do it from the first email. So give it a couple emails, let them get to know you. And there's lots of wonderful ways you can set up automations for your email list, even to have welcome email. I mean, Substack does it. So go in and set your welcome email. Is your welcome email selling something, or is your welcome email telling something about you and getting someone inspired? I think that's a really great first step for Substacks. And if you have another email list or a blog, that's another area where you could go in and see, okay, how am I welcoming people to the conversation?
Yeah. Imagine like you're inviting them into your house and you're receiving them. And what is it that this person is getting out of coming to your house, into your space? And what can you talk about that is relatable to them or can help them in whatever it is the situation might be? And that really depends on, there's distinctions between types of books, right? I think we talked about this on the quick meeting that we had beforehand, Jen. If you're writing fiction books versus nonfiction books, those are completely different audiences, and the way that you talk to those people is completely different. So there's no one size fits all. It really depends on who you're trying to market to, what your email list is about, because you said you had multiple email lists and you don't talk to those people the same at all. So really know who it is you're talking to, why they joined your list, what can you provide of value to these people, not only by connecting with them and stuff like that, but if there's resources that you can give them. So if you're a children's book author, you have something like coloring sheets or whatever it may be.
Can you imagine doing coloring sheets for?
That's actually a good idea. I don't know why we don't do that for now.
I don't know. I do see some of my subscribers and others on the chat. And so I just want to reach out. If you're listening, hi. And if you have any questions about email lists, like it could be there's no like naive questions. There's no bad questions. We're here. We're happy to answer anything that you want to know about building an email list. So please pop anything in the chat. If you want to get into logistics or how-tos or just share your pain points, that's fine too. We can all take solace in each other's pain points.
I'm sure we've all made plenty of mistakes, myself included, even though this is my specialty. Make mistakes all the time because we're people, right? None of us is flawless, or we're all just experimenting to see what works, what connects with people, how we can make a difference with, especially as authors, with our words, right?
Yes. And that's also another benefit when you're still growing your audience and you have a smaller email list. You have more opportunity to really experiment and mess up and try new things or try off the wall things that can be a lot harder to do. Oh, Bill. Hi, Bill. I was hoping you would ask a question like this, to be honest. Bill's asking, how do you set up 2 email lists? One for parents of children and one for Substack subscribers. So you're getting it exactly what platform do you use? Okay, so I'm going to talk quickly because you're talking about children and Substack subscribers, which is exactly my challenge. So kids are hopefully, the kids I write for are hopefully not on Substack. Their parents are, but that's not what Author Gold is, right? So Author Gold, what I do is I'm writing to other authors, emerging new authors, whether they're indie authors, they're self-publishing or trying to go traditional, but they're trying to navigate publishing and marketing, and it's overwhelming. So that email list that I have on Substack serves me very well because Substack has been a wonderful platform for me to reach other writers. This is where my audience lives, where they are, where I can reach them. So that's one of the reasons I'm here on Substack, and that's the platform. And so Substack serves as that role, and my social media presence is still a work in progress because I've learned these lessons too, where initially I had kind of one presence, and then the author coaching and the children's books, it was getting muddly. So I really have started to separate those sort of audiences out. And so I have a separate website for my books, and there is a separate email list completely. So that those email subscribers are not getting the Author Gold posts unless there was some reason to overlap them, but they're not on Substack. The parents of my children's book, some sure might be on Substack, but that's not the best platform for me. So I'm choosing a platform where I can find my readers. And so I found personally, Facebook is a pretty good platform for me for that. But it's not great. Children's books, I've gotten most of my traction, honestly, through local communities and teachers and preschool directors. I have my daughter's in preschool, and we've been networking the local preschool circuit. And that's been doing really well for me. So that works. And then I have in my book, you can go, there's, as Kevin was mentioning at the beginning, you could put in the back of your books, like sign up and things and get the signups for those who haven't. So that's kind of how I'm managing that. I keep it very separate because I have two very, very distinct separate audiences. And again, to the point of you have to treat your audience, you have to know who that audience is very specifically. It's not a age group. It's the more specific you can envision that person, the better.
Yeah.
Maybe Kevin, do you want to get at it?
Yeah, I would say that if for platform you want to use, you can obviously build on Substack, but is your audience there? I think the reason that we're both on Substack is because authors happen to be here. That doesn't mean it's the best audience for like building a children's book list. So I would say, what is the main purpose of the list? How much automation do you want to do? Because different platforms allow you to do different amounts of automation. How much are you willing to spend on it? So those are all the questions that you have to ask yourselves. I would take a look at all the different options and work with your budget, what your needs are, and how much they allow you to do, and how advanced you want to be. Because what you choose will all depend on that. And the good thing about having an email list is you can export it. If you want to leave, you can leave. You can stop paying that company. You can move to another one if your needs change or shift. So I would definitely take a look at all your different options. If you're looking at some, Bill, send them and we can give any thoughts that we might have. We haven't used them all, obviously, but I know Kit is very popular for creators. MailChimp is good because it's relatively cheap, especially if you're on the free tier. There's stuff like Beehive, which is completely free and a complete separate set of things that they offer. So it really depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah. The platform in terms of like what website platform you use, I think For me, it's often been just like what's been easiest for me to learn or what I'm comfortable with. So my children's books are all through my website on Wix, and I manage the list there. So then I have the author gold, and that's managed through Substack. But always, 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 once a month, put it on your calendar, go in and download your email lists just in case. It will never happen that you would lose it unless you're never downloading it. Then it will happen. So that's my tip.
Also,
Definitely.
if you're on Substack and you post a lot, I would also save everything, all the posts, because it exports the posts as a
Yes.
format that you can, if for any reason either Substack goes away or something happens with your account where you can't get in or something that's accidentally deleted. This has happened to many people, and it's not a great experience, especially since they only help you if you have very large audience, apparently. So it's like, make sure you're backing everything up if you're writing posts, even if you're on Wix and you're posting blog there, save any of those. Either work on a separate thing like Google Docs or Notion or something like that, so you have a copy there, or export whatever they allow you to export as like the blog post, because you never know what's going to happen.
I'm looking at Miss Tyler wrote a note, and she said I just stay consistent with my daily stories and engage genuine. And I love that. First of all, I think genuine engagement is really, if you can stay true to yourself, that will come through, and it comes through to your audience. Just think about, if you're subscribing to someone's Substack and everything you get sounds salesy or disingenuous, right? It kind of, you're like, you're not going to stick around for very long. So staying genuine, just being yourself, you might not be everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. But being yourself will always serve you in the long run. I definitely believe that. And consistency. I see that a lot on Substack notes too, right? Just show up, keep showing up, keep writing. I have a lot of thoughts on those. But how do we stay consistent?
Yeah, I think consistent is different for every person, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone's life circumstances are completely different. I myself might be able to do a lot more than like someone who has multiple kids, right? So being consistent is all about your capacity, not drowning in all the work that you think you need to be doing, because obviously we don't need to do anything really. It's like, how much do you want to do? How much do you want to commit? And be more purposeful about the things that you're doing, because anyone can post whatever they want all the time. There's endless opportunities to post everywhere. But where do you want to be? Where do you want to engage?
Is there a consistency level that you think is ideal?
I would
Or
say at least once a month is probably the minimum if you want to keep people actively engaged. And that doesn't mean it has to be a really long post. Just make sure you're staying connected with people consistently. So if consistent means once a week and you can do that, that's great. If consistent means every other week, if it means every month, that's all good. And it obviously depends on what sort of audience you're trying to build, how much you want to be actively engaging with those people. But if you want to continue to build an audience, I would say the minimum is probably something like once a month.
yeah, I think that's good. And I think remembering sometimes how you're starting in the beginning, right? Yumi is saying, I post 2 stories daily. I'm working to make this my full time. I love how all my universes and that I write in. And I think that's wonderful. That's 2 stories a day. You are going, girl. So I found that when I was starting on Substack, I had so much to say, and I also had some bandwidth to say it. And so I started with I think, a very heavy cadence. And I'm 3 months in now, and I'm learning that, how would this look long term? How can I have a sustainable kind of cadence? So I'm trying not to set like expectations, like, hey, every week you're going to get 3, 4 posts for like ever. But what it will be that. And like you're saying, Kevin, it's just, you have to find what works for you. And so one thing I am trying to do though is as I'm building and finding my own messaging and like what works and getting to know my audience, like the way I'm writing is changing, the way I'm emailing is shifting. So we're always learning, guys. Like we're never perfect from the gate. And if you think people are perfect from the gate and just somehow grew to, thousands of email subscribers in a month or two, like that's not real. Okay. So we're always trying to figure it out. And your audience will change too over time. Guess what? So that is also something, and what your audience is thinking about is going to change. So it's okay to be adaptable and to change with it, whether that's in your cadence and your consistency, how often you write, the kinds of things you write about to your audience, what you want to share, that all changes. And that's totally fine. I don't think that we need to overthink or worry so much. I think it's more about, are you shouting at them or are you trying to get to know who they are and address what they're interested in addressing?
Yeah. I think I had live with Kirsten, who just joined us from earlier this year, and she talked about the way that she talks to people, and it's not shouting, it's finding the right people and talking to them like they're people. And when you have a book, obviously say what the book is about, because that's the easiest way to be able to connect with people. Say, my book is for people who are X. Like, don't just say buy my book. No one knows what that means or cares. It's like, if this story is something that you would be interested in, here it is, right?
Yes. Yes. I'm looking at the time, so we're kind of approaching our half-hour mark, but if anyone has any more questions about email lists, let's give you a moment. You have one more question. I would love to help if there's somebody who has a burning question. Yumi's saying she posts whole stories behind her paywall, and then she notes the free chapter for everything. So yeah, you're getting into the lead magnets and how we can create interest and how we build that interest. So yeah, Yumi, you're getting at a very common marketing approach.
A lot of fiction authors will do free chapters, or if you've written a lot of books, people start to give away free books, especially the first in a series, because then everyone is hooked and they want to buy the next books. So it definitely depends on what type of writing you're doing. So for children's books, we mentioned that you can do coloring pages or stuff like that. If you wanted to do stickers or something along those lines, all the things that kids would be interested in, those are the type of things that you can give away as part of how to capture people, bring them into your universe.
Email posts that kind of do the intrigue. They share like opening, like the page 1, right, and then read for more. Or yes, a free chapter. I've also seen one thing that was really cool was, I can't remember the book, but they have a series and they have like secondary characters, and they would share sort of side stories for free with just those characters, like the other characters in like the main series. So there's lots of different creative ways that we can use our storytelling chops as storytellers to build the audience in their interests and build that relationship without trying to be marketers or sellers. So, lean into what your muscles are good at. And if your storytelling muscles are great, which they are because we're wonderful writers, then use those to help make that relationship. tell the story of what inspires you to write, or tell the story of your characters' backstories. It's okay to give those things away. It's not going to say, well, I got that, so I'm not going to buy the book now. If anything, it's going to make them want to buy the book more.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things that I've seen. If your series of books becomes popular enough, people will want to write fan fiction about your series. So how can you be engaged with those types of people who are so invested in your story that they want to make up their own stories? You don't necessarily have to say this is canon or any of that stuff, but how do you incorporate yourself into these communities, be supportive of these people, not go after them like they're stealing your property, because those are your biggest fans and they really want to connect with the stories more. And another way is some of the guys I talked to a few years ago about their sci-fi universe. They are allowing people who do pre-orders or stuff like that to create themselves as characters within the universe, so they can have a small part, like maybe you're a mechanic or maybe you're like something.
That is cool. That's a great idea.
You can create a character to be part of this universe, and they will incorporate that character into future things. And obviously that takes, if only works if you're building like a huge story, or you could even work with people to.
It works in children's books too, actually. So I did that for mine. Eva and the Best Day Ever is a story about a birthday party. And so a couple of our friends that helped me work out through some of the story points, they have a character child who's like represented in the book. And so obviously they bought the book, and now their child is like, that's me there at the party. So you can do that for all kinds of different ways.
Yeah, so just think outside of the box, because those are often the ways that people are like, oh, this is interesting, I've never seen that before, and they want to really get involved. And people, especially if you're in the beginning stages, want to say, I was there since the beginning when they had like 100 people, and they love to like tell other people about stuff that they like. So how can you make it easy for them to talk about you or stuff that you're doing, and get them to share your message? Because I think people take recommendations from other people more than they do just some random people on the internet.
The recommendations go a long way. Like, really, that's where you'll get most of your sales. So thank you, everyone. I just want to say, Kevin and I both do support writers through publishing, marketing. It's what we do, and we come at it from the perspective of we're here for you and authentically you. That's why we joined up together. And please give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, and come check out our posts. I think we both really focus on quality and getting out of the misinformation, because there's a lot of that out there. So please come check it out. Come read our posts. A lot of it's free. Kevin has an amazing series of videos you guys should all watch with different experts. I just posted an interview I did with a graphic designer talking about book covers. So there's just a lot there on our channels, or our stacks, I should say. And I wish you all a wonderful Tuesday. So take care, everybody.
It's been great hanging out with everyone.
Thanks, Yumi. I appreciate the feedback.
All right.